Welcome back. So how dare I publish a singing course and not have breathing be lesson 1? Well, I mean, seriously, isn't that what we always are told? I mean, breathing should be number 1, right, if you're going to sing. And we've all heard these statements: sing from your diaphragm, sing from your stomach. The word control is used a lot, right? Control your breathing, breath control, breath support. And we also hear a lot of fear-based stuff. We hear things that you're going to ruin your voice if you don't learn how to breathe correctly. So why haven't we done breathing in lesson 1? Well, I think you know why, and I think you actually realize that we have. If we say that you can't sing unless you learn how to breathe correctly, are we then also telling all kids in the world to not sing? Because you have to learn how to breathe correctly first. Is it true that you can ruin your voice if you breathe ineffectively? Of course. Can you injure yourself if you're out running and you have imbalances in your body? Of course you can. Does that mean we're going to stop people from running or tell people you can't run until you learn how to run correctly? I'm really not in favor of that kind of nonsense, that kind of fear-based stuff. So let's really talk about breathing. And it's not about correct. We all breathe. I've been breathing for quite a while, and I suspect you've been doing it too, and it feels pretty good. Now, can we improve it? Of course we can, right? So that's what we're going to talk about now. What is the diaphragm? The diaphragm is a muscle, and it's inside of here, and it separates the thoracic cavity and the abdominal cavity. It goes around here, separates the whole thing, and it's a muscle. Since it is a muscle, it contracts. But as we know, a muscle can only contract one way. The bicep contracts to bend the arm. It does not straighten the arm. By relaxing the bicep, my arm does not straighten. I need to contract something else, the tricep. So often in the body we have these opposing muscles, the muscles that work in opposite direction, antagonistic muscles. Now this muscle then, when does it contract? On the inhale or on the exhale? Well, it contracts on the inhale. And that's interesting because if we're told to sing with your diaphragm, it becomes a confusing statement because isn't singing the exhale? Isn't that where sound is created? So what's the antagonistic muscle? Well, we could argue that the stomach muscles work against it, but there are a bunch of different stomach muscles. So what's that? So if we say sing from your stomach and sing from your diaphragm, it's really two completely different statements. What does that mean? And what does from mean? So I'm not in favor, I don't like vague statements that don't mean much. So the diaphragm then has to be able to contract on the inhale. And we don't experience it as a contraction, so even when you sleep, it contracts, right? You're still breathing. So even when you're lying and doing relaxation techniques, you meditate, whatever it is, you're super relaxed, it contracts. So we don't experience it as a contraction, as something that has effort to it, right? Now, what works against the diaphragm, we could argue that those are the abs then. Right? A lot of abs here. So that's exactly the problem. If the abdominal muscles are tight, if there's a lot of tension down here below the diaphragm can't do its job. It can't move. It's stuck. And that's what often happens when people have been taught to sing from your stomach. You have to do stuff with your stomach when you're singing, when you're exhaling, and it often creates a lot of tension. And the inhale becomes actually very ineffective. And the exhale becomes very pressured. There's a lot more force than needed. So if I have super tight abs, I might sound like this. You know, a lot of bodybuilders sound like this. Hey, how you doing? Breathy sound, hoarse sound, so much pressure here. I'm not breathing effectively because it's tight even on the inhale. Diaphragm can't move. So, what did we do in lesson 1? I encouraged movement, right? Yes, movement helps this. Movement creates the looseness down here so that the diaphragm can do what it's designed to do. So it's not being held tight. So the movement, the looseness, is much more effective than me telling you to stand straight with good posture, 1 foot forward, shoulders back, and so forth, that we've often told. The movement. I also told you to let go of your abs. That might have seemed counterintuitive because we've been told that we're supposed to do stuff, and then suddenly relaxing your abs, you might feel, wow, that's completely opposite. But here's the thing. When you move around and when you relax your abs, the diaphragm is actually moving. You're actually allowing your body to breathe in a healthier way. When we did those long ahs there, and you were moving around, and we got into the flow, we got into the groove there, was it hard to sustain those long notes? It wasn't that they were super long, but could you do it? Of course. It had that flow to it. It felt easy, right? And it's not going to feel easy if you're holding on. So relaxing the abs was actually a good step. Most people need to be able to relax them much more than they've been taught to do. So if I tell someone, well, what's the most unstable structure in the body? The spine. If we don't have muscles, the spine will collapse. So if you have bad posture, that's of course not good. Why? Because everything is tight here, right? But if I tell you to just stand up straight, stand with good posture, is that going to help your breathing? Likely not, because you're probably engaging a lot of muscle effort in order to assume a position of good posture. That creates tension, creates rigidity, doesn't create the free breathing, and probably creates a pressured sound. Most people that I've taught who have been conditioned to believe that they're supposed to use stomach support and so forth, stand straight in good posture and do things that are supposedly correct, have very rigid breathing patterns. Isn't that interesting? So when we then let go and we loosen up, we are now opening up, allowing the diaphragm to do its job, and we now get a more resonating sound. It becomes easier to sing long notes and so forth. Right? So, can we improve our breathing? Of course we can. We create, like we said, we already did it, right? Relaxing the abs, moving around, that improves the breathing. And then we realize that the vocal cords have a big part in it. If the cords are breathy or connected, makes a big difference. So let's do an experiment now. You're going to do an ah, take a big breath, and then say an ah. Doesn't have to be a note. Say an ah, but release all the air right away, as quickly as you can, okay? So you do it. Here we go. And yes? Okay, let me try it. Okay, big inhale, and then I'm going to try to let the air out right away. Here we go. And I can't let it out. It doesn't come out. How am I supposed to do it? The only way I can let it out is by opening the cords. I can't let it out. There are people who have been taught to hold a candle in front of their mouth when they sing, and they're going to test then if the candle becomes blown out by singing, right? So if the candle is blown out, they are then told you have to resist the air. You have to hold back the air because you don't want that candle to be blown out. It has nothing to do with the resisting and holding back the air. It has to do whether the cords are connected or not. If I do, it's going to blow out the candle. If I do, it's not going to blow out the candle. But if I have a breathy sound, and then I therefore am obviously then, the air is disappearing quickly, and if I think that the solution is to hold back my air, don't let it out. I'm trying to resist. I'm trying to resist it. Wow. Oh, the tension that creates. And that creates more pressure on the vocal cords, and that's not going to heal a voice dysfunction. What can we do to enable the diaphragm to do its job even better? to breathe even with a more healthy, have a healthier breathing. Well, these intercostal muscles that move the rib cage have a big part in everything. So what we're going to do here, we're going to do some exercises to strengthen the intercostal muscles, and that's going to make a big difference. If I can expand my intercostal muscles, expand my ribs just a little bit, now I create more space for the diaphragm to do its job. Yes? And this actually improves posture, doesn't it? It's not about standing straight, it's just, oh, the rib cage are part of this. These are my wings, right? So that's what we're going to do, all right? Now, in order to do this, why don't we go outside? It feels good, all right? And then we're going to come inside again, and we're going to apply this to more of the singing, okay? Let's go outside first. All right, so here we are. So let's do some breathing things now. Well, this is really more about developing the strength of the intercostal muscles. So like we talked about, they're inside of the ribs here. So if you just put your hands here, and then can you expand like that? And as a matter of fact, ideally, you would like to be able to expand without even breathing. So this is actually something you could work on. But then also take a big inhale and feel that you're expanding sideways. So here's a great one to develop this also. Put your hands together. Try it right now. Put your hands together, and then you stretch up. And now, as you do that, try to bring your shoulders down. And then you try to rotate. You're feeling as if you're rotating your elbows together, right? Make sense? So, therefore, it doesn't become this. It becomes this, right? Try to straight arms, shoulders down, stretch up. This is not a relaxation technique, right? This is muscle effort. We are working now. Now, look up and then take a big inhale. Now you feel you have to work these, right? And then you exhale. And you're going to feel that you don't necessarily collapse on the exhale. And then you do a couple of these. Okay? You can do it sitting down cross-legged, sitting down in the chair, or standing up. Here's another one. Intertwine your fingers, and then round your back a little bit. Now, inhale. And now you want to feel as if you're expanding. It's like you're separating your shoulder blades. Inhaling and expanding. So depending on how much you round your back, you're going to feel it in different areas, right? Depends. But that's the feeling. Now you feel the expansion in the back. Now, if you intertwine your fingers behind your back, and then lift your shoulders, rotate back. Now try to pull your hands away from your body, look up, and you feel your chest expands. And you really feel that you're trying to expand that chest more and more, okay? So, therefore, the expansion is experienced in different places depending on how we stand. If you lean like this, you're going to feel that you can expand this way. You're not going to expand here when you lean like that. You're going to feel here. Lean like that, you expand that way, right? So these are some things that I would encourage you to make a daily practice. I do this every morning. I sit down. I tend to sit down, and then I cross-legged. But and then you do a couple of these, and it really oxygenates your body, but it also develops the strength of the intercostal muscles. Okay? Have fun with that. All right, so now let's implement this now when it comes to making sound. Because we can, of course, do breathing exercises our whole life, and we can be extremely good at breathing, which would be fantastic, very good for the body, very healthy, but that doesn't necessarily mean we have a great voice. If we have leaky vocal cords, we still don't have a great voice. So for us, it's so much about the combination of what's going on here and healthy breathing, right? And one thing affects the other. Open vocal cords will affect the breathing and create more stress on the breathing. And connected cords, healthy vocal cords, will make the breathing easier because then we don't leak out so much air. So focus now on the rib cage. So let's say, ah, with open rib cage. Good. So feel that. You're expanding a little bit. And with everything, when it comes to muscles, right? The stronger the muscles become, the less effort there is to use them. So when you've been doing this a lot, walk around like this, get used to it. It's not such a big deal. You just open it a little bit. It doesn't have to be like extreme to your maximum. Just open it up a little bit and it makes an enormous difference. So feel this openness. Ah. Good. Fantastic. So try to keep it open then all the way through. It might come together a little bit. That's fine. And you just have an opportunity to expand it a little bit again when you inhale. So, ah. Good. Ah. Right? Ah. It just starts feeling good. It feels natural, right? What does this do to your presence? Right? If I come up on stage and say, hi, I'd like to sing a song, I hope you don't mind. Or if you come out, hey, right? So this has to do with posture. Now again, if you have bad posture, and I just tell you to stand up straight with good posture, what's going to happen is that you're going to engage a lot of other muscles. You're going to engage a lot of these abs, and you probably don't know what you're engaging, and that often creates rigidity. And that's what I see all the time. I have good posture. Yeah, but it's very restricted breathing. The sound is restricted. You're not letting you out. Right? So when we make a sound, is there something happening down here with the stomach? Yes, there is. So if I make a sound here, this is actually moving. But I don't want to feel it as if I'm pushing in. It's not so much muscle effort. It's more on the inside, really. It's more of allowing it to move. And then, when I'm done, I feel this opening here. Diaphragm goes, contracts downwards. It's like I'm opening up this space, right? And then there's a little bit of movement here, but this is still open. Ah, ah, ah. But I want to let this go. And if this is open, then this is not so visual. If it's like this now, is this helpful? Well, I'm relaxing my abs. No, now it just becomes an artificial movement with my stomach. This is locked. The diaphragm is still not moving. So if I have this and I'm being told sing from your stomach, is that a helpful instruction? What does that mean? That's exactly why an instruction such as like that really means nothing, because it totally depends on the person, what's going on with the person. Sing from your diaphragm, what does that mean? We breathe with our diaphragm, right? Contracts in the inhale. There's no singing from diaphragm. Everything in life is from the diaphragm, if so. Makes sense? So, that's why we want to have this open. Now, if there is no movement down here, sure, you can encourage it a little bit, but it's not that you're hitting it with your and then it gets stuck. There's constant movement. We've been talking about movement a lot, right? Everything moves. And then, boom, let go. But not like that. Okay? Ribs. That's why I don't want There's no hit. Even flow of air. So you've already become used to this through everything that we've been doing. So everything that we have been doing has encouraged healthy, functional breathing. Is this making sense? Yes? Good. Yeah, so again then, check that it doesn't get stuck. Constant movement, just a little bit. Now, depending on your skill when it comes to these core muscles, the stomach muscles, because there are a bunch of them, depends on what's going on here. If you have the ability to hold this down here and still relax up here, then that's good, that's fine. Most people can't do that. But if I hold this, now I'm still expanding here. It's not so much of dropping down here. It's more opening up here. This is still just as much diaphragmatic breathing. And now it's more up here. But the diaphragm can still do its job here because it's loose up here. We got the space up here. And it's not so much about letting go down here. Yes? But that depends on your strength and what you've been doing in the past and with all the coordination of all these core muscles, right? Okay? So let's sit down now. I'll sit by the keyboard and we'll do some more. All right, so I'll play a little bit. And now let's focus on these expanded ribs. Besides that, same feeling. Letting things out, right? Letting it flow and see if we can keep those ribs expanded. I feel that sense of expansion then on the inhale, right? Can we do that when we sit? Absolutely. But it's not a bad idea if you stand. But if you choose to sit, right, you can still have this expansive feeling. Good, don't push though. Just let it fly, let it flow out. It's expanded. Good. All the way to the end. All the way to the end. That's good. So just like when we did when we're going for the end, right? It's not about the high note. Same thing here. It's slower. It still has the pitch change. It's slower, but we're still driving towards the end. Right? So it's not and then coming back. Mentally, it's forward all the way to the end. End of the phrase. Continue to the end. Good. Now do that to me. Do it to me. Sing to me, yes. I'm doing it to you. You're doing it to me. Good. lot of what we've done, most of what we've done is about focusing inside of ourselves on a kinesthetic level, not so much on an emotional level, but kinesthetically. What's going on inside of here? Feeling it, feeling it, feeling it, feeling it, right? When we're on stage, we don't want to do that. That's the homework. On stage, we're focused outside of ourselves to the audience. Yes, it might be focusing on the lyrics, not as far as, oh, I wonder what's coming up. What are the words again? No, but about the meaning of the lyrics, what it is, why we're saying what we're saying, right? But it's to the audience. It's for the benefit of the audience. So now I'm the audience, so sing it to me. Where am I? Okay. To me. Good. All right. Okay. Good. Yes, good. Sing it to me. Good. Excellent, yes. Have you ever had a better audience than that? I'm cracking up here. It's kind of hard to sing on pitch when you crack up, isn't it? You start laughing. All right, like this. Ah. Good. Ah, let it fly. Good. Ah. Good. Ribs out. Oh, yeah. Ah. Oh, movement. Oh, let it just fly out there. Ah. Let's do it here. Ah. To me. Focus on me. Ah. Ah. Good. You might feel that it actually becomes easier if the ribs are open. Ah. Rather than ah. Because then we have the pressure, right? If this becomes compressed, if this is open, ribs are open, ah, it's easier to flow through without that compression happening. Ah, there's no compression, there's no extra push anywhere in that, right? And ideally, that's what we would like in a sentence, in a phrase, even though there's a high note. We don't want that extra push, right? We want the high note just to soar out, to fly out. Make sense? Now what we're going to do here, we're going to hang a little bit on that high note, also known as the middle note, right? It's just in the middle. Ah, and then you keep going, right? So you just hang on it a little bit. You're sustaining it. So, ah, and. Good. Make sense? So we're not holding. Ah, and then we start singing again. And that's the tendency what tends to happen in the middle of the phrases. Here's a high note, ah, the person holds it, and then keeps singing. No, you're flying through the high note. You're soaring through it. You're moving, right? Still to the end of the phrase. Sometimes the high note is the end of the phrase, sure, but it's still that feeling of movement all the way to the end. And then what happens? This drops, chords open, ready to go again. Yes? Here we go. Heavy tongue. Good. Fly through it fast again. Do it here. Allow it to be vulnerable. try to protect it. It's easy to protect. If I do oh, I protected the crack from happening. I'd rather have when it's vulnerable, right? I exaggerated there, but it might be something like this. And it feels like it's wobbling, right? Again, I could protect it by doing be easy. We don't want to do that. Good. And if this is too high for you, then fine. Just listen. Or you allow it to flip. And still keep that motion forward, okay? Do that. That's fine. Good. So you had a little bit of a flip for me there, right? Again, that's okay. We don't want to avoid it. I'd rather want to be vulnerable. And then there was less of a flip, actually. I was trying to go very vulnerable there, and it actually didn't happen. So, is this making sense? Here we go. To me. All right. All right. So I'm going in a wild range now, and it may be absolutely impossible for you to hit those high notes or again, your voice is your voice. I am not telling you to follow along with my range, right? But I'm just illustrating a way of practicing where you can practice by yourself. You don't have to have notes, right? Now, if you know what an octave sounds like, which I do, I practice without a keyboard. I never practice with a keyboard. I do I'm still doing octaves, right? And I'm climbing up a little bit, right? I don't have to know if that's a G or a G sharp. I don't need to know. As a matter of fact, I don't want to know, because that's going to influence my belief of, oh, can I do this or not, right? Everything that we've done here is about flowing, movement, awareness. Yes? Are we hitting notes? Yeah, we are hitting notes, and you're probably hitting notes better than you were. Are we sliding? Yes. Is it a glissando? Yes. Is it super accurate on pitch? No. Most songs are not, that's not how songs are, right? Amazing grace, it has a flow to it, right? Both as far as pitch goes, but also this, out there. Yes? So actually, this kind of sliding stuff like that is honestly more like songs are, rather than singing scales. That's not a song doesn't go like that. It's much, much, much more fluid, right? Yes, in classical music, you don't have so much choices as far as improvisation, perhaps. And if you sing in a choir in a cappella, I mean, whether it's a cappella or not, but if you sing in harmony with other people, yes, the pitch needs to be accurate. So if you're singing in harmony with other people, you absolutely engage your ears, But now that you have kinesthetic awareness, and of course with more practice you're going to have even more, right? You still recognize, are you suddenly holding on? Ah, because you're afraid you're going to be flat or something like that. That's probably going to make you flat, right? When you push hard, it's probably going to make you the note sharp. Makes sense? So this is, you have actually a lot of things to practice on, a lot of different points of focus. And so now, let's talk about the aspects of performance. What is performance? Right? Every time you sing, you want to have this feeling that you sing out to somebody. Yes? Like we were doing here in the exercise. You want to be able to take your focus off of yourself and out there. And the more homework we do, the more we start trusting our voice, the more we get into this feeling that is not about judgment or self-consciousness. Same thing, right? Self-consciousness is judging how I think other people are going to judge me. But I'm really the one who's being the judge. Since I think they are judging me, I'm judging them, right? Does that make sense? So we want to let go of that. With the kinesthetic awareness that we're developing, can we still feel that in the middle of a song? Of course. Awareness is always there. We can start feeling, oh, okay, the tongue is tense, so I just do something about it. Feel it stiff, I move a little bit, right? I'm holding on to my breath. I can move it out there. So we can still have the awareness in the middle of the song, in the middle of the concert, whatever it might be, and still have an awareness outside of ourselves. So when we are letting out like this, when we are releasing air, what is it that we're really releasing? You. That's right. We could call that sharing. When you release whatever's going on in that moment, both sound, vibration, but also what's going on inside of you, yes, we call that emotions, whatever that is, right? In that moment, that is about sharing. So if you happen to smile, you smile. Whatever it might be. Whatever you might feel in that moment. We haven't talked about emotions. When you let it out like that and you start moving around, how does it feel? It feels good. Is that an emotion? Why not? But this feeling of openness, this willingness to share, that is what opens you up to experience the emotions of a song or the moment, what's going on with you and the audience. That is the emotion we want. We do not want the planned emotions. Well, now I'm going to do this, now I'm going to feel sad, now I'm going to do that. That's what we call bad acting. In this kind of training, we open you up to be free so you can experience whatever you experience in the moment. That is what makes you an interesting performer if you perform. But that's also what makes it exciting to sing, because you're going to surprise yourself. Some days it's going to be, oh boy, what was that? And some days it's going to be, wow, what was that? And that's the surprise that we want. That's what creativity is. That's what spontaneity is. That is what being alive is. And that is what makes you an interesting person, an interesting communicator in whatever situation it might be. Okay? Embrace this and put it into practice. So we're coming to the grand finale here, and you have a lot of things to work on. I hope you realize or you feel inspired that it's just the beginning of something wonderful. And that's what learning is all about. The day I stop learning, that's going to be a very sad day. My mindset is always about learning, discovering, exploring, seeing what's possible. That's life to me. That's what makes it exciting. That's also, dare I say, why I'm a good learner. That is why I can develop things when I set my mind to it. And if I want to do that, if I want to learn something, right? And I always want to learn. That's why I love to teach, because I want to help you become someone who actually learns, who is always in the process of exploring and discovering what you're capable of. The more time you put into something, or the more engagement, like we talked about in the very, very beginning, you of course are going to become better. The better you become, the more fun it becomes. That's how it is with everything. You can do more things with your voice. You can have greater experiences. You can have greater emotional experiences. You can sing different songs. You can perform in front of a bigger crowd. Whatever it might be, right? It becomes more fun if we embrace what I'm talking about. For some people, performing does not become more fun because they put more and more pressure on themselves. They become greater and greater judges, and the pressure, and that's why people have a lot of performance anxiety, even when they're performed a lot, or actually develop greater performance anxiety after a while. So we're removing that so we can actually experience greater enjoyment. Okay? So I hope you feel that this is the beginning of something wonderful, to keep exploring your voice, right? So have fun with this, and go out there and sing with freedom, and let me know how what happens to you, okay? What you experience. Bye for now.